All right, today we are diving into one of the most challenging and, honestly, fascinating figures in all of philosophy, Soren Kierkegaard's Knight of Faith. This idea from his masterpiece, Fear and Trembling, isn't just a concept, it's a kind of spiritual wrecking ball that completely upends how we think about what a life of faith actually looks like.
So let's start with a question that really gets to the core of it. What if the person with the most profound, world-shaking faith wasn't some famous saint or a hermit on a mountaintop, but your neighbor? You know, the person you pass on the street every day without a second thought? This is the central, mind-bending paradox we're going to explore.
Kierkegaard puts this Knight of Faith forward as the absolute peak of human existence. Now, this isn't just a believer in the everyday sense. This is someone living in a constant, private, and deeply paradoxical relationship with the divine. They're navigating this incredible tension between God's commands and the absolute limits of human reason.
To really get the Knight of Faith, we can't just jump straight to the top. We have to start at the bottom, with the very first, essential step. And it's here that we meet another really powerful figure, the Knight of Infinite Resignation.
This person has immense spiritual strength. I mean, think about it. They can look at the thing they love most in the entire world, a person, a dream, a purpose, and just completely, absolutely let it go. And they find this kind of tragic but profound peace in accepting that it's lost to them forever in this life.
So the movement is a single, powerful act of surrender. You cherish something, then you renounce it, and finally, you find a kind of solemn peace in that renunciation. It's a heroic act, for sure. And for this night, this is where the spiritual journey ends, in a state of peace, having accepted the pain of loss.
But this is exactly where the Knight of Faith takes a different path. They do that entire movement of resignation, but then they do something completely unbelievable. They take a second step. And this is what Kierkegaard calls the double movement.
This side-by-side really makes the difference pop. You see, both of them perform that incredible act of letting go. But where the Knight of Resignation stops, finding peace in the loss, the Knight of Faith makes a second, totally paradoxical leap. They believe, against all rational thought, that they're going to get it all back.
This two-step process is the absolute core of the whole thing. First, you renounce everything with total finality, just like the other night. Then comes the leap. You believe you will receive it all back, and not in some afterlife, not as a heavenly reward, but right here, in this world. It's an astonishing, logic-defying move. So, the immediate question is, how? I mean, how is that second movement even possible? It defies all logic. Well, the answer Kierkegaard gives, the concept that powers this entire leap, is the absurd.
The absurd is the belief that with God, all things are possible. It's a type of faith that doesn't just go beyond reason, it flies directly in the face of it. It's the conviction that what is logically impossible for a human being is entirely possible for the divine.
This quote really gets at the profound isolation of the Knight of Faith. Because their actions are based on the absurd, they can't be explained or justified using the normal rules of ethics. They're operating on a private divine command that looks completely irrational to everybody else.
And Kierkegaard gives us the perfect and honestly terrifying example of the absurd in action. The biblical story of Abraham being commanded by God to sacrifice his own son, Isaac.
Seriously, think about this. The universal ethical law says, do not kill your child. It's about as fundamental as it gets. But the divine demand is the complete opposite. So Abraham makes the leap, trusting God over ethics. But here is the absolute key. Kierkegaard insists Abraham believed, by virtue of the absurd, that he would somehow both go through with the sacrifice and get Isaac back, whole and alive. That right there is the madness and the majesty of this kind of faith.
So, after all of this immense inner turmoil, this cosmic drama, what does the spiritual giant actually look like walking around? Well, the result of this incredible life of faith is maybe the most paradoxical part of the entire idea.
On the outside, they are completely and utterly normal. Kierkegaard says they look like a tax collector. They enjoy a walk, a good meal, their family. But beneath this unremarkable surface is a hidden, radical inner reality of absolute trust and unbelievable spiritual courage. They are hiding in plain sight.
And here's the beautiful twist. The Knight of Infinite Resignation, who only gives things up, becomes a kind of stranger to the world. But the Knight of Faith, who has renounced everything and then received it all back as a gift, is the only one who can truly deeply enjoy it. They become the heir to the finite. They find the sublime in the pedestrian, a profound joy in the simple, mundane moments of life, because they know it's all a gift.
So, let's bring this all together. It's pretty clear that Kierkegaard's Night of Faith isn't just some abstract philosophical puzzle. It's a profound and radical challenge to how we think about faith, ethics, and life itself.
This is the ultimate paradox, isn't it? The very core of that double movement. The Night of Faith shows us that the path to truly possessing and enjoying the world is to first be willing to give it all away in an act of absolute trust.
Ultimately, this figure is a revolutionary. It challenges the idea that universal ethics are the highest good. It pushes back against a religion that's just comfortable and rational. And it insists that the deepest faith is private, unexplainable, and might just be hidden behind the most ordinary face you've ever seen.
And that leaves us with a final, provocative thought. We live in a world that values logic, data, and rational explanations for absolutely everything. In a world like this, what does it even mean to consider a leap of faith? Is there still any room left for the absurd? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.